From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode, and my name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicky.
You are. Miss Vicky, we got a returning guest.
We do.
We do. It's been a while since he's been on. It's been like almost 3 years. It's ridiculous. Why are we such... We're horrible at keeping up with people, but we do see him a lot at the track.
We do.
He is known as EJ2 Track Rat, and you know what's even better? We know what that means now. We're getting better. I know what EJ2...
I don't. What does EJ mean?
We'll get back to it. Hold on.
Okay.
And since he changes his name all the time on Facebook, I am taking the chance to change his name. So I am officially calling him Dillon von Honda-san.
That's actually pretty good.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So Dillon, Brennan, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, what's up?
So Dillon, I know what an EJ2 is. Vicky knows what it is, but we've been moving all day. We've been moving all day and she's brain dead right now. So tell her what an EJ2 is, please.
EJ2 is just the chassis code for 1992 to 1995 on the Civic DX Coupe. So,
Like ours is an EG.
What was that?
Ours is an EG. His is an EJ. It's all good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I understand now.
I believe the American codes are different than the Japanese codes. So I think like a right-hand drive JDM one, like an SI or an SIR, might be a EG. Like the VIN might begin with one EG, one JEG. And then in America, it's like EH and EJ for that generation. So there's EJ1, EJ2, and then I think EH3, EH something. But yeah, they call it EG.
This comes in handy when playing Scrabble, if you can talk to your friends into allowing it. But
yeah. I tell people all the time, it's like this is like the most useless knowledge set. Like people are like, "What's your hobby?" I'm like, "Oh, old crappy Hondas," and they're like, "Wow, that's underwhelming." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I agree."
It's worse than that. Don't worry.
Race cars? Yeah. What kind of car? A Civic. Wow, that's really not cool. Thanks. Yeah, I know. How fast do you go? Not that fast.
Not that fast. No.
Yeah.
But we don't slow down a lot. So there's always that.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the goal.
Well, then you show them a video and they're like, "Whoa, that's cool." Like, so.
Yeah. And then we show them our video and they say, "Wow, did you slow that down so I could see?" And we're like, no, that's full speed. But Dillon, it's been a while, just in case people don't remember, in case we're talking to people who are far away and don't already know who you are. Who is Dillon von Honda-san?
I'm going to try to be serious here. I really don't take myself seriously most of the time. But yeah, so I'm a guy that drives a Civic. But I guess more in depth or like more like an actual explanation of who I am is, so I run a like an online presence / social media thing called EJ2 Track Rat, and it's basically dedicated to like showcasing my escapades from like an HPDE driver all the way through like competitive Honda Challenge H2 and H4 racer, and then the content that I produce is intended to entertain people, but it's also intended to educate people on how they can get out on the track for a relatively cheap price, doing things DIY and budget and still being relatively fast. So like my slogan is faster for less. I would say that's less true nowadays. Because I'm trying to win a championship title. But yeah, that's sort of my like slogan is faster for less. And it's subjective, but yeah, I do DIY videos on alignment or setting ride height, how you can save money at the track on a Golden Era Honda, and it's on my YouTube, and then I do it on Instagram too. I publish a lot of technical stuff, and then I instruct at the track. So
You do. And you're
How long have you been doing this?
doing what? Which part of that?
Oh yeah. So how long have you been working on Hondas?
So my first I grew up around Hondas. We had a million Honda Accords when I was younger, and I always loved Hondas. I found out about like Civics and like NSXs and stuff in Japan, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know that these exist. And then my first car was some piece of crap, $900 Lexus that like was keyed and had ripped up seats and was definitely from the hood. And it was not my dream car. And then I got a RSX after that, an Integra Type S. I financed it with co-op money, which is really stupid, in college as an engineering student. And that was my first Honda. That's how I got. I went to Wisconsin for a co-op opportunity, working at a batch chemical plant, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna build a motor for this car, and I'm gonna make it a show car. And then I found autocrossing, and I was like, I just sold the motor. I was like, I'm done building cars like that for the sake of building them. Driving is way more fun. So that's how I got into driving. It was in Wisconsin, autocrossing.
So instead of cones, do they use cheese rolls or anything?
They use cheese hats.
Nice.
For the Green Bay Packers, and then they put cows out as the the cows are the start finish line, and then the cheese hats.
That's funny. How long have you been instructing?
Since 2019, beginning of 2019.
So how long did it take you to move out of autocross to get into what you're doing now?
As long as I was autocrossing from 2013 to 2017, I would say, on and off.
Because it's cheap.
Yeah, it was cheap, but I would say that, so like autocross, I don't know. I kind of like walked into it blind, like I think a lot of people do. Autocross was cool. And I think if I could go back to autocross, I would take the same mentality and mindset I had for racing and apply it to autocross, where every single thing I do is very deliberate. But I was like younger. I was in college and I had just graduated college, and autocross, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make an STX car or an STF car in SCCA, and all the cars I wanted to drive would not fit well into those classes. So, and if they would, I'd need to spend money. So I was like, I started doing track days with SCCA Track Night in America. I was selling discount codes in return for free track days. And then Brett Emmons, who is an instructor with NASA, I worked with him at my job, and he was like, hey, come run with NASA. I was like, I can't afford that. It's expensive. And I found out about the volunteer program there. And I think through getting free track days in return for work, that's how I got into track days from autocross. So, yeah.
The frugal racer.
It was very, it was like a dark existence at one time. I mean, it was like I was living in a townhouse in Delaware, and all my friends were in Philly or in Bensalem, which is near Philly. And I was just alone with like this roommate who was sort of like off kilter. And I just spent all my time in the garage, this tiny garage, just working on my Civic. So.
Well, I could make my Delaware jokes since that's where Vicky's from, but I will try to stay out of the bathtub for the rest of the weekend. So.
It's okay. I'm too tired to even care at the moment.
I mean, kind of me too. I need more coffee.
I think Vicky's been beaten for the day, so we'll see. We'll see if we resume moving. If anybody wants to come to Scranton and help us move, come on down.
We got it.
We do. Although I'm willing to give it to anybody who wants it. So since you started around 2018-ish track-wise, and your autocross, I guess, would count too. Is there any kind of lessons learned that the now wise Dillon would look back and tell the formerly stupid Dillon, like, don't do this.
Oh my God. Did I ask you to talk to me about this?
I don't know if you did or didn't, but
This
you know,
But we've all been there.
I think I
trust
did
me.
actually. Yeah, no, I think I did. No, this is actually a really good question. That's why I'm thinking that. Yes. If you know me from like, when I was younger, I mean even now I make mistakes, but like
Sure.
know me from when I was younger, it's like Dillon was sort of nuts. And yeah, if there's one thing a couple things I learned, and I think Jackie talked about it on your podcast as well, but like patience is a big thing.
Mhm.
On my whiteboard over here, you can see it says it's the long game in really
Yeah.
big writing. So like that's kind of a mantra that I have developed, and I try to focus on the long game. So, like I would say that I was a little bit more erratic in the past, and I've learned to sort of calm that down and focus on being smooth and predictable on the track, and making sure that I get to the track in one piece, making sure I get home in one piece. And yeah, I mean, it's that. And then also I learned over the years that like, yes, you spend a lot of money in this hobby and it could be perceived as a waste, but the intangible lessons that I've walked away with from this hobby have been sort of so invaluable, because they've developed me as a person off the track and humbled me and taught me to listen and be a better person. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. Like, I think that like when I was at the track, like I was with NASA Northeast, and I was like, this is the first time I have a click. Like, I don't feel like I'm a floater, Like I feel like I have my click, And college, in high school, I was like, in high school and college, people liked me, but I was a floater. Like I never had a click. And with
Right.
racing, it's like this is so. Yeah, I mean,
These are my people.
yeah, like this hobby is so much more than just spending money. Like you have to weigh those intangible experiences you get out of it. So
Right.
And
Yeah,
you have connections like long distance, like across the US. If
yes.
you have issues and you're heading in one direction a couple hundred so miles away, there's somebody out there ready to meet you.
So I'm guessing it's similar. You guys feel the same then, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
sure. I think that the click is different though, because it's very open in racing, and we've participated in groups and sports and other things, and the clicks were very closed. Like it took a long time to become part of it, and sometimes you didn't want to become part of it because it took so long. But
Yeah,
for
network in.
racing, it seems to be much more open and be like, come on in, you're stupid like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. And that's dangerous sometimes. Like because I walked into that, with no blinder, just with blinders on, with no inhibitions. Like, come on in, you're stupid like us. I'm like, really cool. And no, you have to chill. Like, be a little bit smart.
Yeah. Well, I think the story you just went through is one of those illustrations of why we're always telling people, do not wait to go to the track for your car to be right, or do not fix your car to go to the track. Just go to the track, because you don't know enough to fix it. You don't know what fixed is.
It's so much more than that. Yeah, it's so much more than a car.
Yeah. And you'll probably fix it in quotes in a way that you will find out you don't like, or it doesn't work, or it just wasted a lot of money. So it's car racing is like what we used to say when we lived in Hawaii. It's like they will come up with a way for you to spend the money. That's not a problem. You just have to stop somewhere. So anyway.
So you have this YouTube channel.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. And Bill was actually watching it the other day. I kind of popped in because I don't sit long enough usually to focus on stuff. So I saw him in there, and I saw you, of course, just walking around working on that Civic. How goes both projects, as in like your YouTube project and the Civic project?
The free Civic, the free Civic project.
The free Civic.
So the YouTube and all of the social media in general are sort of just something that I do on a regular basis, because a couple of core followers, I would say about 40 people or so on YouTube who are core watchers, and then probably more than that on Instagram, are interested in seeing the progress that I make, both building the car that I'm racing and then also the Civic that you guys gave me.
Mhm.
So the Civic that you guys gave me, that Vicky was referring to, that's a purple EK hatch, and it didn't have the wiring harness was not put in. It was an automatic car. It still is. Had water all on the inside and the interior. So, what I did was I took out the carpet that was covered in mold and water and stuff. I took out any damaged interior bits. I took out everything I could, and then I'm in the process of getting rid of all the sound deadening, and all the seam sealer from the floor of the car. And then I put the windows up so that it doesn't get rained on anymore. I put it on jack stands, and it's sitting on a concrete pad outside of my garage. So I'm
Nice.
sure my neighbors love me. And it is, the front end is sort of mangled. It looks like it was in a pretty bad accident on the left side of the car, but it's relatively rust free. So I looked at it the other day. Frame rails look straight. And so I began cutting out the radiator support. And I'm going to pick another one up today that I'm going to weld back onto that car. And the idea, long story short, I guess, is to take that car eventually and have it be finished so that I can tow it to the track for people to drive. I want my friends and volunteers and people who kind of like were in similar spots as me, to have the ability to go and have fun, even if they don't have their car there. So like, I want the volunteers to be able to drive something cool. It's cool-ish, and that's the idea with that.
A good starter.
Yeah.
Get your feet wet.
Yes.
And that's why we thought of you, and we were like, we're never going to finish this one.
Mm-mm.
I know somebody who
wrong.
can put something in the right spot.
It doesn't look hopeless now. Like, like when you find a car that's like neglected, it's kind of like hopeless, right? But like now it's up on jack stands. I cleaned the outside of it and pulled all the bad stuff out of the inside, and it looks like it's in progress now. Like working on some of the spots, and yeah.
When you were saying that it looked like it sustained a hit, how's the frame look?
The frame rails look good. The shock tower on the driver's side is all dented and mangled up. It looks like someone tried to straighten it out with a hammer.
That's fine though. That can be replaced.
The shot, it's
you talk about the actual place where it goes, where it connects,
where it mounts.
Yeah.
Where it mounts.
Metal.
Okay.
So must have been some sort of, I don't know what they hit. But yeah, so it's
like a T-bone.
Maybe I think it was more like a front left impact.
Maybe a curb.
No, it's like there's no front left fender.
Support mount. Front fender support bracket or something.
No. No, that's I don't know what you mean.
You should watch the YouTube channel, Vic. It would be good.
I will. Yeah, because honestly, I mean, we took a hit on ours and we had to pull the radiator frame.
Okay.
The front frame, and we were trying to fix that. And when we pulled off the fenders, the things that actually mount to
clips.
They're like clips, or like metal clips that support the fender itself.
Was it for the fender liner or for the fender?
Fender.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like brackets that kind of extend out from the body that hold that in place. We had to bend one of those back.
That's messed up. Yeah. So if you're asking about that, yes, they are. And I mean, it's so common when you get in an accident, like right, for that to be bad. So yeah, I'm hoping I can just weld in a new radiator support, and it'll be OEM used radiator support, not a Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
So Dillon, I hear you're looking for a part-time job as a bodywork guy after your recent. No, did I misunderstand?
He wants to get to the fun stuff. He doesn't want to do the body stuff. He wants to get to the good stuff.
I want to pawn off all of the bodywork that I've it's I've learned and done way too much bodywork this off season. So for like those who don't know, I crashed my car at NJMP Lightning.
Oh no.
It was around turn 1, and I spun and hit a tire wall. So the left fender has always been sort of crinkly. I took a basketball and I put it in between like the frame and the fender and just inflated it to push it out.
Oh, that's clever.
It was Zephyr Belsky, who's a H2 racer. He's been racing for like 15 years or something, maybe 20 years. He gave me that tip.
Oh, I'm right. I'm writing that tip down.
Yeah, I mean, it works really well for bumpers. Like if you like, have you ever seen like the infamous Camry dent? Like
No.
the catacorner dent in the bumper that looks like someone punched the corner of the bumper.
In a Camry, I'm shocked they're not taken care of.
It's like, yeah, so if you put a basketball in there, deflate it and inflate it, it'll just pop the dent right out. So
well,
yeah,
I know that.
You hear that, guys?
I know that one of the 2 basketballs she just threw out today while we were moving is coming back to the
yes,
garage
it is.
now.
Yes, it is.
Actually, we used the soccer ball because I didn't have any balls at the time, and it was like Zephyr's old dog's chewed up soccer ball, but it's still so it's like, I need that back because like my dog is gonna. So I took this like chewed up soccer ball all the way to PA, to fix this in Philly, and then we drove back to Zephyr in North Jersey, all for the soccer ball. It was funny.
What a clever idea.
Yeah, so after that happened, I got in contact with another racer in a fun race, and the whole driver's side quarter panel was destroyed, like really bad. Really bad. And that was the start of my first race for H2. So like I didn't even get to run an H2 race, an H2 trim, and that happened, and I was like, cool. So yeah, I bought a Tahiti green coupe with no title, or no, had a title, but it wasn't transferred. I bought it from someone
Tahiti green.
in North Jersey, and then I dolly towed it back home, and I cut it up myself. I pulled the old quarter panel off the driver's side, and then I taught myself body work, and it was not fun. So I basically used panel bond, 3M panel bond, and I panel bonded a quarter back onto my red car, my race car.
Yeah. It looks like it's coming out well. I'm not saying it's fun, but I mean, it looks like it's coming out pretty well.
It's okay. With these
it's okay.
With these vintage Hondas, it's so hard to get parts, and Honda sucks, so like they don't want to support their golden era chassis, even though everyone loves them. And so you can't really find body panels, and they don't even make crate motors, like a B series crate motor. Like if they made a Type R crate motor, people would be all over that. But Honda doesn't care. So
yeah, we're 1 gen worse. Well, I don't know if it's 1 gen worse, but we're worse. We're still on D's. So
no, I can't. I don't even know how you guys do that. I can't find decent. Like, so one of my thoughts with the free car you guys gave me was, all right, like it has a D series in it right now. Maybe I can find a manual D series transmission for dirt cheap because no one wants them. You can't even find them.
We have 3.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know that I want to get rid of them, but we have them.
I have to pull the motor out. My plan is to pull out the D series motor and then part it out on eBay, and then take that money and put it back into the car, because that's what I do with these parts cars. I buy the car for something that I need, whether it be a motor or whether it be a quarter panel, and then I find stuff in the car that I can sell on eBay to recoup the cost of the car.
Yeah, we end up having the D series come over because our friend moved to a K series, so he just said, here, take these. I'm like, cool. That means they're just assembled. Some of them need some work, and one's in the machine shop, another one's going to a machine. I think we have a total of 3 that he gave us.
He gave us 2.5 ish.
Okay.
And then we had one.
Blew.
So
you guys have D16 Z6s, right?
Yeah.
The SI motors. That's baller.
Well, we make up for it in lack of skill.
He said that these things are so durable that they can run on salad dressing.
They are. I mean, I had I used that exact wording as well. I had a B7 in my Civic when I was doing HPDE, and I would just power shift it at every track because it was so slow. I was slower than Miatas. And then it would one night I forgot my blanket for camping at New York Safety Track, so I slept in my car. I idled it all night and slept in my car, idling it all night. And then I woke up in the morning and checked the oil, and it was really black and low. So I just topped it off and I drove it all day, and then I drove it home.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, those motors are great.
Yeah, we're becoming fans. I think we're 30 years too late, but whatever.
Yeah,
it's fine.
We're working through it. We're
we
learning.
We are right there. We are
They're
cutting
like Lego,
edge.
as he puts it. Also, they're like Legos. So they're a good car to learn to mechanic on.
They are.
From what I understand, they're very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad. So, like the perfect podcast guest, you submitted some questions that we are going to take advantage of you and make sure that we cover. And one of them was that racing does not involve just being on the track.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more to it. And that's the hard stuff. The track is fun stuff, but there's so much more. Would you care to expand on that? And then we will pummel you with stupid inane questions.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have experienced it because you went from not racing to racing.
Yep.
And you did, you guys learned on the way. But racing is it's sort of like going to the gym as a hobby, in the sense that, like, you might have like competitions for whatever, bodybuilding or hockey or basketball, and you go to the gym to keep yourself in shape. And racing is like that. Like, if you have people that come to me all the time, they're like, I want to race, and I'm like, okay, like, go take your car and drive it on track and get some experience. And they're like, oh, but I need this or that. And I'm like, okay, well, you have to make a commitment at some point, and it's going to change your life. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. And so off the track, it takes a lot of discipline to make sure that you can build a championship car, that you can build a front running car, that you can build something fast and reliable. If you don't have $1 million, you're going to be taking a lot of time doing work yourself, teaching yourself work. And so even all the way down to budgeting for food and consumables in your house and homework, like doing okay, am I going to do flooring in my house, or am I going to do motor?
Mm-hmm.
It's everything. It's everything. Like, the budget extends into your actual life. And I went on a podcast with Khan Yanturk. It's called Blind Apex Podcast. And we talked about this. We did budgets, race budgets. And that's what I'm kind of getting at. It's like, the budget is just, it takes over your life. Like, it's not just racing. Like, it's when you're home, like, you have to think about your expenditures, and you have to say, where do I want to be on track? If you want to just go out and have fun, that's fine. But if you want to go and you want to win stuff, like, you need to change the way you live. It's crazy.
It is, unless you're independently wealthy.
Yeah.
With thousands of free man hours to dedicate. That's I think that was one of the biggest surprises we had, was just how much it takes to, get anything done.
Yeah, I had when I was living in an apartment, I had to choose between, do I finance a car and look like the work professional that I am, or do I drive something that doesn't make me look like a work professional and save that monthly payment and put it into something for my racing program? And I chose the latter. So I drove a 97 Civic to work that had like a partially spun bearing, so like it would knock on cold starts, and then it would warm up and stop knocking, and then like a very faint knock. And then I sold that after 40,000 miles, and I had an Integra that I used for my B swap for my H4 car. And I took the B series out of that and put it in the Civic, and took the D15 B7 out of the Civic and put it in the Integra. And I dailied that for 40,000 miles with no air conditioner and no power steering. And yeah, those are my choices to save money. Yeah, I towed with an old, I paid $1,300 for my Chevy Tahoe, or $1,200, just using a tow dolly. And I made the choices to cheap out on things so that I could afford to race. Yeah, it was, and that's what I mean. It takes sacrifices. It's not just spending money and going out there. I mean, I
No.
would love it to be like that way, but it takes sacrifices, you know?
Yeah. And sacrifices and a lot of time. And this, I don't know where you started. We started with zero mechanical knowledge, as most of our cars have shown, and have used laughed at us a few times about it, but that's fine. But it just takes,
It's the long game, as you put it.
it is
A long game for sure.
It's like when you're just learning it, you just have to fall into it and just breathe through it, and just don't try to have you have deadlines, but you're never gonna stop learning. So you might as well just absorb everything around you.
Right.
I think one of the things that helped the most is the openness of the community and the people willing to help you, because sometimes they're like, oh, just do this. It's just like normal. And you're sitting there going,
I don't know what that means. I don't even know what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah,
I take it to, like, especially the mechanic side of it, I take it to like learning a video game. And for anybody who plays the video games out there, when you first open that box and you sit down and you start learning how all the mechanisms work and everything, it stinks. It does. It's so time consuming. You forget whatever. But by the end or halfway through, you really start to get a rhythm, and you really start to get to momentum, and you're building on itself, and you're building on top of building knowledge blocks. So, that's how you just got to look at all of it. You're just building blocks along the way.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Yeah, when I started with my Lexus that I bought in like 2011 or something, or 2010, that car was so messed up. Like, it was just so messed up. And the first time that I really got a taste of anything mechanical was when I did fuel injector and spark plug job on that car, because it was misfiring so bad that it just would not run anymore. One night I was like tired of not having a car, and it was the summer before college, so I picked up a coffee addiction, and I would just stay awake at night when my parents were asleep, because it was like my peaceful time. And I was drinking coffee one night, and I was like, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna go make this Lexus run. I went outside and I started reading resistances across the injectors, and I was like, this is good. This is good. Oh, this injector's bad. And so I think I took apart and labeled 260 plus different pieces with a whiteout pen, because I didn't want to put it back together wrong. Put it all back together, and it leaked gas everywhere. And I'm like, no. So then I had to take it apart again and then put it back together. And I used junkyard injectors to do it. And that was like my first real mechanical experience. And ever since then, it's just been a learning curve, and I've been learning more and more. So you guys know what that's like, it's not easy.
Yep. It's not. The one thing we didn't really understand was post race, like in between racing. Like once you've got the car ready and you go to your first race, that's great. But the stuff in between races is often so critical to even getting back out onto the track. And we didn't. You can't change your oil every 3,000 miles, no matter what the commercial says on TV. So do you want to get into some of the things you've learned in that area of trying to keep a race program going?
Yeah, the biggest key is to set your goals for the beginning of the season. So there will be seasons like when I was in where I was like, I want to win regional championship, and I never successfully did that because of lessons that I learned along the way. But what I learned was you have to start with a reliable base. So, there might be infinitesimal gains for doing a crazy little modification to your motor. For example, you could do like an undampened harmonic balancer and pick up 3 horsepower. And that's like, great. Now you got 3 horsepower, but now you are not dampening the harmonic frequencies of that rotating assembly, and you're going to wipe out bearings and crack things, and now you're out of motor. So the first thing is to set up a reliable base, even if it's a little bit slow. And then in between events, make it so that in between events, you're not fixing broken stuff. Make it so that you are improving the chassis or maintaining the chassis. So you really don't want to be replacing motors every event, replacing transmissions, drop it. Like, you want to make the car idiot proof to the point where you're not having these electrical issues or broken transmissions or blah, 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 barring any serious accidents, so that you can focus on, get the car in the air, nut and bolt it, change the oil, change the trans fluid if you need to, make sure nothing is broken or worn out in the suspension assembly, and then go back to your notes after you've done all of the maintenance and say, okay, what did the car do last event that I did not like? And then you make a list. And I can go on forever and ever about what I don't like about my car, but I have to prioritize the biggest gains for me. So like last season, it was braking. So I was like, okay, car doesn't brake well. Ronnie Vidak of Track Monsters was just romping on me in the braking zones. Same with Leland Wampold. I was like, these guys are dumb fast. And I was like, my brakes suck. So, that was the first thing I tackled. And you basically say, you assign a time frame to those items that you want to get done. And if you can get those things done within that time frame before the next event, you schedule that, accounting for packing the vehicle, accounting for relaxation and rest time, accounting for going to the gym and staying healthy. It's so much more than just the track. It's about making sure you don't burn yourself out, about making sure that the car continues to run at its peak and that you're improving it every single event, whether it's an alignment change or whether it's replumbing the entire braking system. So
one of the things that, knowing to do that when you're new or relatively new is one thing, but knowing what to do or how to figure out what to do you have any tips or tricks or resources or references besides, the paddock friends that you have?
I was lucky in that my paddock friends were essentially the reason why I learned how to do that stuff. My advice is, if you have to set your goals to manage your expectations, right? So let's say you're new to this and you say, I want to be a Formula One driver one day, right? You need to hang out with people who want to be Formula One drivers. Surround yourself with people that want to do that. For me, I knew this was a hobby. I know it's never going to be my profession. Maybe one day it will in some shape or form, but like, I knew that I loved it so much that I wanted it to be one of the major things in my life. And so I spent time around people at the track as a volunteer, as a worker, as an instructor, and then as a racer. And I just took in everything I could, and you piecemeal things, So like, for example, you don't know what you don't know. So I'd be like, well, I set my alignment. My alignment's fine. The car's driving a little bit weird. And then someone would say something like, oh, but did you check your ride height? And I'd be like, what do you mean? They'd be like, well, you have to make sure that the ride height's set. I'm like, oh yeah, I set all my coilovers at the same length. They're like, well, no, there's different weights on each corner of the car. So even if you set the coilovers at the same length, left, right, front, and rear, doesn't matter, because your right front might be heavier than your left rear. So now your right front's lower on the ground, and then the car it turns left different than it turns right. And so, not knowing that information, I would say, okay, my race prep for every race, or my event prep, is an alignment, right? I need to fix my alignment. I need to fix that. And then eventually I learn something new, and I say, well, how can I incorporate this new knowledge into that? So it's really a negative feedback loop as you're starting in the process. Like, you employ the best practices that you know with good faith. And then as time goes on, you educate yourself on different best practices, and you try to incorporate that into your program. It's never perfect.
Mm-mm.
See, we always just blame ourselves and say it's us. It's never the car. It took us several seasons to realize that the car impacted, because it was kind of a get into black box, drive black box, get out and say, I sucked so bad, and repeat,
It's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I look at that like a pendulum. You get into the sport, and the pendulum's on the left side for you guys. You see the screen, it's on the right side for you guys, but the pendulum's on the left side, right? And it's like driver needs improvement, right? And then as you get more competitive, that pendulum swings to the right side, and it's like car needs improvement. then you start getting cocky, right? You're like, oh, I'm so good. I'm a fast driver, blah, blah, blah.
I'm a real racer.
I'm Michael Schumacher. You know, you go into work and you're like, I drive a race car, and they're like, it's a Civic, and then you're like, and then they're like, that's not cool, and you're like, damn it, you know. But then it goes back the other way, and you need to become a good driver again. It's a hysteresis, right? And so like I went to H2 and I was like, I'm a fast driver, I'm good, and I got humbled real quick. I went to Jackie and she coaches, and I was like, Jack, I'm going to pay you to coach me because I think I could benefit from it. And she's like, stop using brakes in this corner. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, stop using brakes. And I was like, okay, I told you I'm going to be your robot today. So let's go out and not use brakes and maybe I'll die, you know? And what I did was incrementally went into that zone of the track, less and less and less brakes until there was no brakes. Then I went more and more and more throttle until there was part throttle through the corner. And I was like, Jackie, you're right. You don't need to brake there. And she's like, I'm like, wow. So
yeah, there's so much to learn from so many different people that we have to learn.
I think that it goes back to what I was saying, right? Like, it's like this hobby is so much more than just a hobby with cars. Like, you increase your brain plasticity by continually being humbled and switching mindsets and learning and learning and learning. That's what I love learning.
You never stop. You never stop
that's why
learning.
this hobby is so great. You know,
in training, baby. It's under there somewhere. So
right
one
now
of the things
guy
we'll get you.
Trying to read the Garage Heroes and Training logo, but Bill's in front of it.
I am. And hopefully as this year goes by, we'll take up less and less.
Gage Hayes.
Yeah, exactly. Hayes. That's fine. So one of the things you kind of talked about just a little bit and from two different perspectives, but we were going to get into it later as far as sustainability and not burning yourself out. There's really at least two, if not more, ways you can burn yourself out. You've got the health wise, and then you've got the budget wise. And then if you want to get into like the emotional aspect of it, I don't know if that falls into health or not, but I mean, there's so many ways you can burn yourself out and turn this from something you love to something you despise. So it was something we were going to talk about with you because you had some thoughts on that and maybe ways to avoid the burnout factors that we see, because sometimes the last thing you want to see is like one of your friends stop.
You know, in 2020, when COVID happened, everyone was like, the world's ending, blah, blah, blah. We're never going to race. And I'm like, yeah, right. They're closing down racetracks. And then they closed them down. I was like, oh, well, this sucks. So then I was like, when they started it back up in 2020, I was like, I'm just going to instruct. I'm just going to enjoy my time. I did a couple races. I think I did one race in 2020. And I guess my point is you have to, I try to look ahead. So like, when they said championships are going to be at PittRace, right? I was like, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to get the championships and build a championship winning car. Maybe I'll win, maybe I won't, maybe I'll blow up and get last. Who knows? But it's the process, right?
Right.
And that's what we tell ourselves. But so with that being the case, so my goal for the season is I'm only going to do the minimum amount of races to get the champs. And a couple of I'm going to strategically pick those races so that they develop me the best as a driver and so that I can get an insight into my competitors' programs more accurately. So that's the first. So then that's how I'm approaching this season. But there are other seasons where I'm like, I'm just going hands off, I'm not going to race. I'm just going to enjoy myself. And then there are other seasons where I'm like, I'm going to be regional champ and I'm going to do every single event. And I haven't gotten that, but I got like every track record except for one in H4 in the Northeast because Ken got the last H4 race that I wasn't in. But yeah, so like it just depends on what your mindset is. And that's how I avoid burnout. So like if I'm feeling overwhelmed from the last season, or if I know that like this season I'm going to be in champs, like I'm going to plan ahead to say maybe next season I'm taking a break. So like 2024, I people are like, what's your plans? I'm like, well, I'm going to K-swap my car, probably instruct, and I'm going to try to get the volunteer car sorted out by that season at the latest, and just enjoy myself in 2024, because 2023 is going to be high pressure, a lot of money, a lot of time. So 2024, it doesn't even matter if championships is at New Jersey Motorsports Park. I'm going to take a break. I'm not that's how I avoid burnout, is I pace myself by looking ahead, picking seasons where I want to go hard, seasons where I want to go soft.
Yeah, we're adjusting our schedule this season for similar reasons, and I think we let's see, how burnt out did we get the first 2 seasons, my dear?
We were fighting so much.
Not in a terrible way, but just in a
no. We were just really cranky and tired.
Tired bicker. When you're doing something that doesn't appear to be normal personality, perhaps you're overdoing it just a little bit. It happens.
Absolutely.
So Dillon, you were who we thought of when we thought about what can we do with that Civic, and part of the reason we thought about it is you're really strong and put in a lot of effort to give back to the sport and give back to your friends in the racing community. So your plan with the Civic is to essentially lend it out to volunteers at the track. Is that?
Yeah, like I wanna go to the track in like 2024 and maybe even after champs in 2023 and have a car that I can tow down there and go and instruct for the day, and then be like, "Hey, do you want to drive this to so and so?" Whatever volunteers out there, or even people who just want to have a taste of driving a Honda, and then have them be like, yeah, like I want to drive that car, and then have them realize how great these cars are, because they're dope cars. They're really awesome. And I feel like people don't know how to set them up, or they hear feedback about just being front wheel drive, and they're like, oh, these suck. And I think it's misinformation.
It's just different. That's why we started doing the front wheel drive, because we'd done all rear wheel drive up to that point. And we figured if you're going to be good at something, you should be able to drive all of them.
Yeah.
So we do, or we try to. So how has instructing been for you since you started doing that? Is that something that you find as part of the giving back routine, or something you find that is fun to do, or it actually helps you as a racer as well?
Kind of all the above. Instructing is funny, because like, I don't know, like people will come up to me after I instruct them and they'll be like, hey, you're racing today. You instructed me on this day. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I did. What's up, man? Or woman. And then they kind of like hang out. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, you were so great and blah. And I'm like, cool, really? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, thanks. Kind of like flattering. Like, I'm like, sick. These people like think I'm cool and stuff. And then I make these relationships with students, and I'm like, it's surreal, I guess. It's I do it because I mean it's fun to do. I do get scared sometimes in some of the faster cars, because like I like my life. So like when they're like, I'll be like, slow down, and they'll slam the brakes in the middle of a corner, and I'm like, no, not like that, So that instructing has been interesting, because you have to learn how to communicate in a way that people don't react incorrectly in a high pressure situation. So it's difficult from that aspect.
Without screaming and going, slow down.
Yeah, like we had this. I was in this guy's car at Pocono, and he was doing really good. He was in a Mustang, and I was like, this guy's good. And then we're going around the banking, and I'm like, you're going a little too fast for my liking. I was like, I like the way you're driving, but you're going a little too fast for my liking, because you don't have a cage. I don't have a Hans. There's no harness.
Right.
And so I said, slow down. And he slammed the brakes, and we got sideways. And I'm like, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, not like that. Please. But, it's been a good exercise in improving my communication skills. It's been a good exercise in getting to know people in the community, which I really love doing. And, it's fun to go to different organizations, do a test day with my car, help out some people on the side, and get notes on the car, learn about other people, make connections. It's fun.
So how about the taking criticism and help? Asking for help. Sometimes people have a hard time.
That was on your list of things that we wanted to talk about. So
yes, delivering criticism and taking criticism. The best way of discussing that with your people. Sometimes people don't take that very well. Sometimes they are the real racers. So
Again, I think that this goes back to racing being so much more than just an on-track hobby. Like, I have to work on that in real life, let alone at the track. And I guess what I've learned through instructing and racing and life in general is that you can't be so hard-handed with everything. And I really don't like sugarcoating things, but sometimes you kind of have to at least powder coat it, at least like a little bit of powdered sugar. Because if you don't, people won't listen. That's how American culture is. People want to feel good when they talk to you. So delivering criticism has to be done in a tactful manner so that you're representing your organization well as an instructor, and also being respectful, but also being honest and delivering a message that's like, look, we are trying to improve together and be safe. And here's how you do it. And there are some people that do take that well, and there are some people that don't. I don't think anyone likes working with the people that don't. But I think in order to become a truly good driver with a competitive racing program, you have to be willing to be humbled and find out that you're wrong. Because I mean, like I said, H2 was a huge wake up call for me. It was like, yeah, you're not really like as fast as you think. And I'm like, wow, like, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So like, turn 4 at Thunderbolt. Let's go. No brakes, part throttle, send it over the curbing and hope it sticks. Turn 2 and 3 at Lightning. Let's not brake, part throttle flat, basically out of the apex, and steer with the feet. And I learned that through being humbled, through being told that I was wrong, through accepting the criticism. And that's the only way that you're going to become a better driver and evolve in the sport, is if it doesn't matter how good you are. If someone tells you suck in this and that, think about it. Do I really suck? Maybe you do. Like, maybe you need to improve, and that's me being hard-handed again. But yeah, like, I was kind of raised to be that way. So I have to work on that. But yeah.
While you're driving, drivers out there, just be open to accept information.
Captain's log supplemental.
So, Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those grid life events where you used to see the in-car video, and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on? Most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
We have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars, maybe 2.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
so what does the Sentinel system do?
We could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
I think that's why we're changing a little bit what we're doing this year, because we've driven more open field racing primarily, and now we're trying to get a little bit more balance in terms of like not quite a spec series, but where cars are comparable, because you can't judge your driving if you don't know that the vehicle you're judging against is significantly better, significantly worse. And that's why we're prepping some Sunday Cup cars to go, have something to be able to measure ourselves accurately as cars and drivers. So it should be quite a mess.
I would love to build one
of those
cars.
Well, you know a place that has at least 3 of them coming this season. So
I told you I could help you guys. Like
I know. And we have yet to call you, but that does not mean we are not going to call you.
It's very similar to H4 in the rule prep. And so Like I feel like I could build a nasty car if I had the money and time, but I don't. So I would love to help you guys with ideas for that.
Well,
The things I saw national champion H4 drivers do, I'm like, whoa, I'm like, why are you spending this much money on an old Honda? And I'm like, if you did the same thing in Sunday Cup, it would just be, it would be like, it would be ridiculous. Like, I don't know.
well, as we have proven every time we go to the track, we can use all the help we can get. So we will be bothering you. Do not worry.
What are the best tips and best ways to grow in a new class or series, like moving and changing racing classes?
Well,
Besides just opening up and learning, so anything you can do extra?
I mean, you guys are going through it right now, as you're trying to transition to grid life. I would say that you need to always have connections and friends who will give you tips on what you need to do and things like that. But I think when you're transitioning to a new class, you need to basically read the rules, understand where you're going from and where you're coming from. What is the easiest trajectory to get there and what's the most efficient trajectory? So for example, I knew that my H4 car needed a better braking system, right? And so rather than do a big brake kit upgrade first to get to H2 trim, I replumbed the braking system first. And I know that sounds harder, but I wanted to incrementally test things to see the progression of each mod and what it did. And I think when you're transitioning to a new class, it's like critical that you treat things like that, upgrades like that. You pay attention to every incremental change, and then you write it down in a book and you say, what did that change do for me? And then you can go back and you can look at the book and you can kind of glean a little bit of information on your thought process and whether that thought process needs improvement, but also on the modifications and whether those modifications were the right trajectory in the first place. And also, if you're going to a new class, expect that it's going to be hard. I think it's, everyone was like, oh, H4 to H2 is easy. And I'm like, I don't believe that. And so, Ken and Damien and Nathan Bookbinder up in the Northeast all went K series, and they all had to deal with issues because it was their first year K series and it was their first year H2. And it just kind of proved me right in my mind. I was like, this is not easy. Like, transitioning is not easy to a new class, and you have to expect it to be hard. It's going to come with hardships.
Mm-hmm.
So,
indeed. Well, luckily we go in expecting to come in last. So we're doing the one lap of America, and everybody's making fun of each other. And I'm just like, listen, I want you guys to recognize that I have DFL locked up. There's nobody else who's taking it. It's mine. You guys can compete for the rest of it. We got this covered.
Doing one lap of America?
Yeah.
Wow. In what? That's cool.
Sunday Cup car.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
We got some work. We got some work to do for it.
So I guess I'm not going to see you guys at a lot of NASA events this year.
No, actually, we're the plan is to stay more local this year. So we will be doing more NASA Northeast this year. So
that's crazy. You guys are savages. I would not be able to do all of that. Like, I've done that before, and it's a lot.
We didn't say we would do it well. We just said we'd see.
A lot. Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, we tried to meet you at Watkins Glen, I think, like 6 times the first time we did, and I think we were over 6. It was just like, are you here? And we're like, no, we're over here. And you're like, are you here now? And I'm like, no, we're over here now. And,
so I'm like a squirrel with an acorn at the track. I'm so distracted sometimes. Like, I just, because it's like car from like 7 a.m. until like 5 p.m. And then when it's over, my brain just like goes and then just like let's go. And I just like I grab a beer with my friends and I maybe a cigar and I just let go of my attention. And so it's like, let's meet here or let's meet there. And I'm like, and I get distracted. I'm like, let me take a shower. Let me go change my clothes. Let me go hang out with these people. Oh, I didn't, so
it's hard to stay organized on a good day at the track.
It's too exciting. Like, I'm like, oh, all my friends are here,
I know. I know. We had planned at the lightning event for you and Vicky to get in a car, and you two were like 2 ships passing in the wind. I'm like, I just saw him. He was over there.
We were.
And then you're like, where's Vicky? And I'm like, she was over there. So it was kind of fun. I'm like, okay, I've got 2 squirrels. You can't keep them track. So
It's
I'm
difficult
gonna
sometimes.
have to put a rope around the 2 of you.
And then in between, depending on how the cars or work or entertainment has gone, you're just battling tiredness. So you might have to go take a crash nap for like 20 minutes or half an hour before you can, just downtime, just a quiet downtime.
I wish I could do that. I wish I could nap. I can't nap. Like even now I need a nap and I can't.
I can get a nap in at a stoplight.
Oh my gosh. He's so good at it.
As long as there's somebody behind me, because you don't want to be the first car and nobody behind you. If there's somebody behind you, they'll beep and wake me up.
He did that all through college.
That's right. Yeah. You don't want somebody coming around at 60 miles an hour sitting there saying, why is this guy sitting there? Stop. That's not what you want. So, all right, Dillon, let's do this. Next year's plans. I know we've got nationals at PittRace.
Yeah.
What are your
next year, as in this year?
As in right now, 2023.
Right now, 2023.
Where are you going to be? What's your structure? What are you thinking? What's your goals? What does post Dillon after nationals say that was a good one?
That's a good question. As long as I can make a concerted run where I have respectable finishes at my regional races without any major mechanicals, and I learn about the car and myself in terms of development and make it faster, and I don't have any issues, like major mechanical issues while I'm testing the car either, and then I go to champs and I make a respectable run again, even if it's 4th, 5th, 6th place. If it's a respectable run, I will be happy. I won't be completely satisfied, but I will be happy and grateful. So I hope that, getting on a podium at nationals in H2 is because we're going to have a big field. It should be like, we're estimating like 20 plus cars. And so,
oh, wait a minute. Hold on. We might have to get some money involved in this. I have another estimate that is way bigger.
You think so?
I do. I think the first digit's at least a 4.
You think so?
I do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a conservative estimate is like 25. 20. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, the more the merrier, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about Mid-Atlantic and Northeast at this point. If the guys from Great Lakes come out, if the guys from, I think they changed the name to Mid-America or something now because it used to be Central. Yeah,
I don't know what they changed it to. I saw they changed it.
Southeast, they can come out. That would be cool. I don't think none of the West Coast guys are going to come. That's what I've been told.
Jaime's coming.
That's true. And I don't if he can rent your car or whatever. And
I don't think it's an H2 though. We'd have to do some serious love with you and Jackie and all the help we could to get that to an H2 car. It looks like an H2 car, but it's not an H2 car.
They have this rule in the rule book. I don't know who requested it, but it's like a 1,700-pound D series that makes 180 horsepower. And like me and Jackie are like, okay, like good luck getting that 180 horsepower D series. At 1,700. I don't know what car that's going to be in. I don't know how long that D series is going to last, but okay.
I'm willing to bet that naturally aspirated that is not going to be easy at all.
I mean, they like at that point, like they should just be like, run like an L15 B7 or whatever from a Honda Fit. I think it's an L series, whatever the Honda Fit motor is, and you can run at 300 horsepower in H1, and then
sure,
like at that point, and it's like,
good luck with that. Good luck with that.
The 300 horsepower,
Yeah. All right. So you're thinking 20-ish people, and Dillon's happy spots like top 10, top what? What are you thinking?
If it's 25 people, my happy spot would be the top 5.
Top 5. All right.
Very happy.
Have you done PittRace a lot?
No, never. So I have a Excel sheet with all of the events that I plan to go to. I have some local testing events that I want to do because I live like an hour away from NJMP. Some local testing events I want to do. And then I have some testing days at Pittsburgh. And so I'm just looking at whether they're open to instructors to come through. And if they are, then that would save me some money. Go and instruct at PittRace and learn a little bit about car and track.
They usually are. We actually have more laps at PittRace than we do at any other place. So if we can help, let us know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, we go there at least 3 times a year.
I will definitely reach out. I mean, if you guys have any, pointers on the track itself or any videos that you could share with me that you watch, like that would be helpful.
I have all of that, and I have an Excel sheet which has turn-by-turn breakdown.
Okay.
So I know it's hard to imagine that I have an Excel sheet for that, but yes, for those playing the
An
home
Excel
game.
sheet for everything.
I have an engineering degree. I also do Excel sheets for everything.
Mhm.
Exactly. I think my latest version is up to like 56 tabs for racing, so it's ugly.
I think my girlfriend, I was like, we were talking about like places that we want to live, and I was like, look, like we can make an Excel sheet that like talks about like the perceived happiness for each
Yeah.
one. And blah.
Yeah.
She's like, oh my God. She's like, you're gonna calculate happiness now? I was like, yes. Objective happiness on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's right. And in various different aspects of happiness, because there's not just one happy.
Exactly.
I think we did baby names with an Excel spreadsheet. So here's a tip. Here's a tip. This will solve so many problems for you potentially, and all our listeners who have yet to do this. This is what you do. You get a baby name book, and in our case, Bill goes through the baby name book, and I make a list. And these are all the acceptable. I know Vicky's shaking her head like, why am I doing this? But
where is he going with
you
this?
make all the acceptable names, right? And then Vicky goes through the book and she makes a list of all her acceptable names. You exchange lists, right? So now we're dealing with only good names. And Bill strikes out like a whole bunch of names that Vicky wanted because that's just not happening. And Vicky strikes out all the names on my list that aren't happening. And then we take both lists together. And now we're both happy and we're just looking for a good name. No arguments. Life is good. Works.
That's chill. I'm naming my child Baby.
That's good.
I was kind of thinking you might go VTech Yo or something, but you know.
We name it like Nudies. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I won't be able to pronounce it, but I'm more than willing to send over a nice stuffed animal for you, man.
Damn it, do your homework, Nudies.
Just stick your head out the window and start screaming.
Laundry. Yeah. I don't know.
Exactly.
My kid's good. If I ever have a kid, it's gonna be so weird. I hope I have a kid, but I mean, if I do, it's gonna be a very weird kid, and it's gonna be funny.
It will be.
Name is gonna be Horse or Nudies.
Well, luckily for you, you're not going to be the only one naming the child, so the child has a chance.
For anyone who can't see the screen right now, Bill is like kind of like laughing. He's like, and Vicky's like, "What is going on?"
I'm just, what the heck? How did we get to baby names?
Hey, we're garage heroes in training. We train in all areas. We might have a singing class come out.
Garage babies in training.
That's right. That's right. Well, with you, it might be a garage baby, but anyway. Dillon, we will be seeing you at NASA Northeast events. We will be going to nationals. I'm not sure if it's we or me, but we'll be going to nationals. We are not partaking in nationals, but we're going. And good luck with this season, and keep up the good work on YouTube. We love following along and seeing how things are going. And how would other people do that who don't know you personally?
You're asking. I'm sorry, I totally zoned
That's
out.
okay. We're having a overworked Saturday morning.
This is what I do on work meetings. Like they'll be like, "Dillon, you got this, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was dissociating." And they're like, "Do that." I'm like, "Yes, I can."
I just did.
No, but you can reach me at EJ2_track_rat on Instagram. I believe it's the same thing on YouTube. It's youtube.com/EJ2trackrat. Or you just look it up in YouTube. Facebook, I have a EJ2 Track Rat Facebook. And I do have a blog. It's blogger.EJ2trackrat or blogger.blogspot. Blogspot.com/EJ2trackrat. I think that's what it is. But I haven't been on that in a while. It's a bunch of technical articles and stuff. But yeah, YouTube is a good spot. Instagram's a good spot. So
yep, we've
shoot me a DM.
We love watching your videos and learn a bunch from it, and have called you a couple times and said, I need more details. It's like you and Eric Cattell are two of the ones that we watch all the time going, I wish we could do half of that stuff. Man, we'll figure it out someday. We're still in training though. We've got time. It's the long game, right, Dillon?
It's still definitely the long game, man. And it is a long game. So
Especially when you have the skills that I have, it's a really long game. Like some people say I haven't started yet.
And especially when you have garage babies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now we know how to name them, so we're good.
Babies.
Exactly. Thank you, Dillon.